Hannah Scherwinski, or better known as Hip Hannah, and I'm kind of here with the times in 2026 and everything modern.
And my name is Madelyn. I lived here in Scherwinski in the 1860s, so I know all about its rich and beautiful history, quite old-fashioned, and I love all things to do with the past.
Yeah, but before we go anywhere, we have some questions for you all.
Get to know
you and kind of test the waters. So, what is dogs or cats? Are we dogs or cat people? What's everybody's preference? Both? So if you had to pick a side.
Dogs.
Dogs?
Very
Like
decisive.
Dogs?
Tough one for you.
Yeah, okay. See, the only right answer was dogs.
Cats.
Oh.
I don't think she's right about that one.
Okay. I guess what's everyone's like go-to mode of communication? I like to use Snapchat and text and use my phone for certain things. Yeah.
Text or email.
Text or email. Letters.
I like this guy.
Letters? Are we in the 18th?
Yes,
Oh.
we are. I haven't heard of any of those things. I get out my old-fashioned quill and ink. That's how I send off my communications to my distant friends and family. No idea what you're talking about over here.
Yeah, letters are a little outdated for me. I don't know about that. Yeah, I guess. And then one final question we have is: are you a night owl or a morning person? And I know personally, I have the best right answer about this. I don't know.
Well, you haven't so far, so I'm not sure.
I know.
Night owls?
Night owls or early birds?
Very much night.
Early.
I would say early.
Parties happening at night, guys. I always have to wake up early to go do my farm chores. I don't know what you're saying. Can't afford to stay up late in this business, that's for sure.
I don't know. It feels like we have nothing in common.
Absolutely
You're too outdated for me. I don't know
And all
about
this newfangled business, I don't know anything that has anything to do with your life. I think that we are just about as different as two people could ever be.
I don't think there's anything that could bring us together. Just don't see it.
I think I got something for y'all.
A letter. A letter.
Mysterious letters.
That is your mode of communication. So, you like to read our letters?
I will. I wonder who it's from.
There it
It
is.
says, Dear Hip Hannah and Madame Madelyn, there is one thing you have in common. Something that plants, animals, and people have depended on for all time. I've left you clues to help you discover what brings you together. From a friend.
One thing that brings us together?
Something we have in common?
Well, that might be a stretch, but I guess we'll find out.
Sounds like they've left us some clues to figure it out.
Alright, so before we go out on our walk today, just a little logistic things. We are going to stay to one side of the trail to make sure that people coming by us can get by us. And we are going to end up going through the parking lot at the very end of our walk. And so there is some snow out there, but there is a nice little walking path. But just as so you know and you're not blindsided by us going through the parking lot, we will be going through there. And the walk's going to be about a half-mile loop. So
That must be where people park their horse and carriages over there, I believe. Yes. Yeah. Well, let's set out and find these clues that our friend left us. I believe we'll start off checking this way.
an S.
Where?
An S?
Over there.
Would you mind grabbing our clue for us?
Do you want to come grab it with me? Here comes another friend. There you go. Thank you, young lady. Well, folks, I'm actually rather glad this is where our friend left the first clue, because places like this are quite familiar to me. You see, in my time, Scherwinski was actually logged over. And it was after all of those big, nice trees were removed to make houses and fences that the land started to look a bit more like this. Vast, open prairies where wildflowers and grasses and things like that could spring up. The plants that grow in big open spaces like this are known as pioneer species. Just like the pioneers that advanced west in my time, these species, they need a lot of sunlight so that they can grow, and they cannot do with any amount of shade. They're called shade-intolerant species. They like to be out and lay in the sun, relax, maybe like some of us have on vacation. But those larger trees back there are also pioneer species, even though they're a little bit bigger. Those are, does anyone know what sort of trees those are?
Birch trees.
I'm hearing birch.
Aspen.
Poplar.
Populous.
We've got some contradicting opinions. We've got some experience.
Tremuloides
with that.
variety.
Those are actually aspen trees, trembling aspen. And we do have a photo of those to show you more closely. Those pioneer trees, they need big open spaces and they're hungry for the sunlight. And they use it to grow, grow, grow. In fact, it's likely that all of the trees in that cluster are actually clones, different versions of the same tree. And aspen trees do that all over the place. In fact, the largest organism on Earth right now is a group of aspen trees that is called Pando, and it is 80,000 years old. So it's a phenomenal thing, these beautiful species that live out here in the wide open grassy prairies, just starting out their new life.
But like, wouldn't you want to see like forest, like more grown instead of prairie? I don't know. I feel like we should keep going and see if we can get into the forest a little bit more.
I don't think there's anything better than this, but we'll keep looking.
Alrighty, we gotta fight for light, but whose light are we fighting for? We are fighting for the underdogs of the understory. Now, all those really fancy old species who are shade intolerant get all of the sunlight, but some underdogs of the understory, they don't get as much light. So we're gonna move a little further into the woods to find who our shade tolerant species are. Another clue, another letter.
Is there another one? Oh, there is. Can someone retrieve that for us? You can do it again?
So we have an S and a T? I don't know. But more importantly, our shade tolerant species.
More importantly,
More important. They're pretty cool. They can live with about 2% to 15% of light in the understory. And these species had to adapt because of the old species that took over. And some of these gaps, much like all those logs and down stumps, they created way for these species to get light. Some of our species had to adapt too because they didn't have sun. And so they've adapted to grow in different times. They've adapted to grow in length and up trees, and they've even adapted to grow bigger than other plants. And one of these big species is our partridge berry, one of our underdogs of the understory. Partridge berry is in the vine family, and their leaves are about a dime big, and they're nice and dark green with these nice yellow stripes down them. And they will crawl across the floors of the forest, seeking any light that they possibly can. And if you'll notice, they have those really nice red berries. Those red berries will come out much earlier in the season, around this time where the canopy is very open, and those seeds will be good. Those berries will be good for migrating birds and other animals to eat and spread the next group of partridge berry around. In addition, because it's part of the vine family, some vines will climb trees to get as much sunlight as they possibly can. Another really cool species is our bracken fern, another underdog of our understory. Bracken ferns have adapted to make their leaves super, super big to capture all the light possible. Now, I want you guys to spread out just a little bit and soak up as much sun like a bracken fern would. Soak up all the sun that you can get through here. here. And so these big leaves can sometimes, in big forests of bracken ferns, will cover the entire understory. I don't know. I don't know how these shade intolerant species who get all the sunlight could even compare to our underdogs of the understory who have to fight for their light. I don't know. They're just too different. And much like Madam Madelyn and I, we are too different. I don't see...
It's not my fault these plants have to fight for their life. I still think that we are just too different. The plants that are in my home and the plants that are in yours, they don't look anything alike.
No.
But the letter we received said that there was things with plants and animals. So maybe I can talk a little bit more about my type of animals. Let's keep looking for clues this way. Well, I think I see what you all are talking about. Is this what you found? Okay.
No.
Another one. Oh, you're going to be our keeper of the letters.
Mounds attacking the bottom.
Attacking the bottom.
Oh, there's another one. Thank you very much, folks. All right. Well, you might have noticed that this boardwalk carried us over a very wet and marshy sort of habitat. What sorts of animals do you think might live in a place like that? Let's brainstorm a little bit. Frogs, I hear. Some deer might come passing through.
Ducks.
Ducks, yes. Grouse. Bugs. Always there. Squirrels everywhere. Yes, those ones that really specifically like to call that marshy, gooey water home might be things like frogs or other amphibians and reptiles like little salamanders, possibly even small turtles and things like that. See, those are my type of animals because just like humans, when we get a little bit older, we might start to get a little bit scaly. These amphibians and reptiles have maybe some not so pretty skin, but they have adapted to live in this place and use their resources. Very clever animals these ones are. See, amphibians, reptiles, they have a fancy schmancy name. They're called ectotherms, and that just means that instead of making their own heat like we do, those animals, they rely on something else. The heat around them. The sun, air, the water, and for most amphibians and reptiles, their body temperature is going to be very close to the temperature of the nearest body of water. So if you see a turtle over by Lake Jonas, its body temperature would likely be very close to that of Lake Jonas's water. We have a photo to show you of a snapping turtle. Snapping turtles are one of those animals that do something called basking. Basking is, well, that's what it sounds like. You lay out in the sun and you soak up all of that energy in your body. We have another friend coming through here. For us, the sun gives us energy in a special way, makes us feel more rested. But for these ectotherms, the sun is really important for their health. You see, they collect vitamin B3 from the sunlight, and it makes their shells and their skin and their bones nice and strong so that they can live long and healthy lives into wonderful old age, maybe retirement.
Oh. I don't know. Those scaly, wrinkly... I don't know. I feel like there's some pretty cool, more pretty, modern animals that also...
I think you need to respect your elders, young lady.
And I do.
But I will hear you out.
Yeah, so I think we should try to find our friend's next clue and learn about maybe some more pretty animals.
I guess so.
We have
Another clue.
clue. Hold on to our H.
Thank you. Hardworking. She would do well on the farm.
Now, we had talked about some reptiles that are ectothermic, and there's some little prettier species that are also ectotherms, but the thing a more modern way of saying it is they're like their own little solar panels, basically. And that would be the viceroy butterfly. So butterflies are like their very own little solar panel. They cannot move or be out and about without sunlight. They use that sunlight to heat and power all of their flight muscles. So I don't know about you, but when I was little, I know my mom would pull me in at noon and be like, it's a little warm out, the sun's at its highest, we gotta put sunscreen on and you gotta eat. But for butterflies, that's the ideal time to be outside. And what's especially cool about our viceroy butterflies, they don't migrate. They're one of our non-migratory species. So they'll be coming out here soon from the leaf litter that is all around us. But they are so cool, and they, like I said, they're like their own little solar panel. Now, there's a really cool name for a group of butterflies. Does anyone know what a group of butterflies is called? No? So I said that some butterflies migrate, and when they do that, they migrate in what's called colonies. A group of butterflies is called a colony. Much like you going on a vacation with your family, these butterflies will group together to produce their own heat while they're migrating. And yeah, so they produce their own kind of heat for themselves, which I think is pretty neat. A little different than our scaly reptile friends.
So different.
A little bit different. I don't know.
Don't look anything alike. I'm
No.
starting to see they might do similar things, but in different ways. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I know what our friend is talking about quite yet.
On a day like today, which I don't know about your scaly reptile friends, do you think butterflies would be out and about today? Really?
You do.
Wow. So lots of light, like I said, will power those butterflies, but as they get hot, they also need shade. So they've gotta find some shade to cool off as well. But really cool little solar panel type animals.
I see. They do sound rather interesting, I suppose. Well, I have some other things I'd like to share about the traditional way of doing things. I believe we can move forward and look for another clue.
Yeah, I'm still struggling to see how plants and animals all connect, but maybe your next stop will give us another hint. Another letter.
Another
An
clue.
Wonder what all these letters are
Trying to tell us?
Tell us? I don't know.
We'll have to find out, I suppose. We simply must give them to our keeper of the clues.
Yes.
And later we'll find out. If you folks want to take a few steps in, that could help better unify our group, you know. Well, plants, animals, what was that last one? Oh yes, people, of course, just like you and me. Well, people, through the generations, through the centuries, across time, they started out very agricultural. They needed to grow things like my family does. All the way back to the ancient Greeks, the ancient Romans, they found a secret weapon to use to sort of master their growing and farming capabilities. They would use the sun. You see, if you could predict the movements and the patterns of the sun, it was like telling the future. You could know when best to plant, when best to harvest, and all the certain things that would make your society worthwhile. In fact, in ancient Rome, they would actually angle their houses just right so that the sun would come in and warm them up during the winter, but would be shaded out during the summer. So they really figured out how to use the sun to its best ability. They would also use the sun to tell time. Lots of different societies realized that they wanted some way of bringing things into order, finding something that was reliable. And so they would use something that was always there, the sun, to tell what time of day it was. There's one easy way that is quite fast and simple, a bit primitive, but not so much. If you hold up your hand to the horizon, which is much easier if you're out on an open lake or something as such, without all those ugly old trees that grow in after the pioneer species, you can hold your hand up And one set of your fingers like this represents 1 hour. And it will tell you how long it will be until the sun will set. Each finger is 15 minutes. So you can all give that a little test out there. See how long, maybe guess how far those trees go down, so you can imagine where the horizon would be. How long do you think it might be until the sun sets tonight?
1 hour.
Hour 15? Seems about right to me. If only I had some things that could reliably tell me.
We have weather apps in my day. I don't know.
What information? Now, there's something else used to tell time with the sun that's maybe a bit more precise than the good old hand, and it is a sundial. Tip, Hannah, Doug have a photo to show you of that. But I made my own sort of sundial here. It's just composed of a plate that is labeled with the different times of day, and this centerpiece, mine is organically sourced, and it is called a gnomon. Gnomon, what a fun word. Could be made of stick, rock, anything really. In fact, Stonehenge. Have any of you heard of Stonehenge? It's a big circle of rocks up in Scotland, quite mysterious. It's a sort of sundial in its own. The shadows of Stonehenge line up precisely with the sunrise on the winter solstice and the sunset on the summer solstice. But if I was intending to use my handy-dandy homemade creation here, I would simply face myself in the direction of north, and the direction that my gnomon, my center stick, casts its shadow would indicate to me what time of day it is. So you look for where the shadow falls on your sundial. It's remarkable, really, the creative ways that people came up with to use their resources, to use the sun to power their societies.
That's nice.
It's fantastic!
We have some better ways to power our societies nowadays. A little more easy to use and put to other things.
More useful than a sundial.
More useful than a sundial, I think.
Hard to believe. I might need to have some proof for that.
Then I better keep walking because we're not gonna find it here.
All right, let's look for another clue. What are they?
Did you spot another letter?
Great work. We have to find them all. Here you go.
Now, our little more modern style of use of the sun is actually right behind me. Does anyone see anything that we might use? Feel free to blurt it out, say it. Solar panels.
What?
Solar panels.
They look like maybe really large flat rocks. I've never seen anything quite like them before.
And that's because solar panels were invented way past your time. They were invented, and then about the 1950s is when they really started to come about. 1954, Bell Labs created the first solar panel. Now, why create solar panels? Solar panels were initially used as a way to start renewing energy and renewable energy. Renewable energy, why would we need that? And it's a great way, when the climate crisis started to become well known in the 1970s, that they started to look at different ways we can use what we naturally have to put it out for our use. And so in the 1974 to be exact, the University of Delaware created their very first solar panel roof. And this was kind of a pioneer. I don't know if I like that word, but it was a pioneer for its time, because in the 1950s they had about a 6% efficiency rate with the initial ones they created, and this one was much more efficient, which then led to Congress passing a law making solar energy more affordable, more usable for other people to use. And as you've noticed behind me, there are 3 panels. 3 panels were a part of Schmeekley's sustainability initiative in 2019. Initially, there were 2 panels, and then added a 3rd panel and electric vehicle charging ports. And these offset a huge amount of the visitor center's energy. Does anyone have any ideas how much energy it might offset? 30%? A little bit higher. Anybody else?
50?
It's actually 75% is offset by the solar panels. And if you'll notice, around campus, a lot of buildings have solar panels on top of them, and that helps offset even more energy used by the campus. And if you're curious about just directly how much is used by Schmeekly, there's a great link on the website under their sustainability tab that shows how much energy is being consumed and used. And so these were used, and they're now used on, like I said, buildings because they became more accessible and better ways to capture energy from the sun. I don't know.
I have no idea what a website or a tab is.
Okay.
But if someone taught me, I would go and check that out. I suppose the solar panels are a rather creative use of the sun, and it's pretty phenomenal how useful they are to places right around us, but they just seem so different from my rough sundials. Classic traditional sundials.
Rock that absorbs sun.
We were doing our best.
Okay,
We were doing our best.
We tried. I think those letters. I think we got to go back to the pavilion and see what those spell. Maybe that'll give us a final clue as to what we have in common. Because I still feel like we haven't really found that like one thing. I don't know.
Well, let's pass through this little canyon over here, through this open prairie of bizarre
Parking
vehicles. Yes.
Called a parking lot.
Let's go this way. It's time to discover our secret.
Our secret
All right.
that brings us together.
Thank
you.
All right.
Would anyone like to try and sort what these might be? Wow.
We need your help. We
Wow.
clearly have not been able to find out anything we have in common.
Nets.
2 words?
Yeah, I'm like,
You'll have to show us to believe it.
No,
You're right.
I need to see it to believe it. We gotta readjust how they're on
I
there.
can't read it like this, that's for sure.
I know, hunts.
Upside down.
That wasn't a Z.
It is the sun. Wait a second. I mean, we shared a lot of things about our lives today. Trying to remember really how they all connected back to the sun.
Sun.
Do you all remember any things that can remind us of what we have in common? Everything you say?
One way or another.
The plants. Animals.
Mm-hmm.
There was the ferns that needed to spread out.
Yep.
The basking.
Underdogs.
The basking turtles.
Yeah. I like to bask.
The pioneer plants.
Yes.
So much better. But still, I can see it. I can see it.
Too.
I can see how the sun could bring us together.
I can also see how the sun has connected evolving communities throughout time. I think it's evolving communities like our plant communities, our animal communities, and even us. It's been the center of it all.
I mean, when I look at your life, it seems so different. So much has changed, but one thing has always been a constant source. The sun.
Thank you for coming today. If you have any questions, we'll be sticking around for anything that you might have thought about while we were walking. But yeah, thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great work. Thank you to the lecturer.
Yes, thank you.
High five.
Thank you for the lecture.
Awesome job.